Good afternoon and welcome to the Digital Craft Festival, which has been arranged by the brilliant Sarah James of Bobby and Made Cheltenham. Such a fantastic idea that Sarah is switching up the in-person craft fairs and taking them online. So big up to you, Sarah. We think it's fantastic. My name's Anne-Marie Shepherd. I'm the marketing manager of the Gloucestershire Guild of Craftsmen. We're a membership charitable organisation based in Cheltenham, where we promote and support around 70 designer makers in the Gloucestershire area. I'm really thrilled to be joined by these designer makers today, because we're going to be talking about surviving the new normal. 2020 has been a year, I think, unlike any other, which has made us all, I think, reassess not only our lives, but also our businesses. You know, there's been a huge shift in the way that artists, designer makers, small businesses, independent retailers have had to do their business, carry out their business, you know, sell, market, all of it. So we really today just wanted to talk about, you know, as we say, surviving the new normal. You know, is this the new normal for the next year, for the next 2 years? It's certainly the normal for now. And just find out how small businesses have made the switch, you know, what they're doing differently, what they've learned about themselves, what they've learned about their businesses, you know, and also really what learning they've had to do. But before we start, let's just introduce who we've got with us today on the panel. We've got 6 designer makers. Josie, can we start with you? Would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about what you do?
My name is Josie Walter. I've been making for just over 40 years now. So this last few months has been quite interesting for me because it has been such a change. I make earthenware, mostly functional ware like plates and cups and bowls and trays and things like that.
Brilliant.
You want me to say it a bit more?
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm Christina. I'm based in Edinburgh, here at Co-Workhouse Studios, and I make jewellery in a variety of different materials, but mostly in silver. I also use wood and things like that. I've been making jewellery for over 20 years, but I did teach for a while. I was a lecturer at Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art, and I just finished teaching a year before lockdown, so I was kind of getting back into full-time making. So yes. It's been
wow. Yeah, we're going to come on to all of that in a minute. Yeah, absolutely. Tanya, welcome.
Hello there. I'm Tanya Ufer. I'm based in Brighton, and I've been making for probably about 20 years now. So I mainly sell at shows, and it's all silver, gold, gemstones, so quite colourful work. And yeah, when lockdown came, everything changed. So I wasn't at least seeing everybody at shows anymore. So, but yeah, that's it.
Great. Thank you. Melanie.
I'm Melanie Hamlet. I run Kikino Jewellery, handmade silver jewellery. I work with enamel. Yeah, I've been doing it since 2003. I'm based in Leicestershire.
Brilliant. Thank you. Jo.
Hi, I'm Jo Irvin. I make gold and silver jewellery. I did a degree in photography, and I was always really obsessed with the styling and the accessories and stuff. So I started doing a silversmithing night course. That was about 10, 12 years ago now, and just became slightly obsessed with it, and it grew from there, really.
Lovely. Jane, welcome.
Hello, hi. Yeah, I'm Jane Lake, and I am a potter, and I specialise in hand-built pottery. I make functional pieces for the home, and yeah, I've been doing it seriously for the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm based down in Plymouth in Devon.
Brilliant. Thank you. So welcome everybody. I'm really looking forward to talking about all this, because it's something that I'm involved in, just in terms of the job that I do, you know, selling and marketing. So can we just start with the question? Christina, I'm going to start with you if that's okay, and then we'll go round. What did you, as a business owner and as a maker, what did you think in March when the severity of the pandemic hit us all, really, and we went into our first lockdown? What did you think in terms, you know, what was your mental thought then for you and also for your business?
Well, I think everyone's thought was, yeah, what's going to happen, basically. I think on the Monday night when it was announced that we were going to lockdown, probably no one slept that night, because I just thought, what am I going to do? I just moved into a bigger studio. The idea was to start doing some classes from in here, and I just finished getting it all ready as we went into lockdown. And I couldn't really work from home. There wasn't really the space. So I just thought, well, we're going to have to roll with it, really. Financially, I'd had quite a good Christmas before, and I had some money stored up, but I was, slightly worried. But I just thought, well, I'm going to have to just work on things. I decided just to take the laptop home and the admin, and to do all the things that I don't usually do, because I'm the fun stuff, which is making. So I decided, because I've been thinking about my marketing and thinking about the fact that I don't email customers enough and all that kind of stuff, and I thought, this is just going to be time where I can concentrate on doing this. I can just do the digital stuff, which is I'm really bad at.
And did you find that was that a challenge? Did you think, okay, this is a perfect opportunity? Did you then get into that side of your business a bit more? Did you struggle with it?
Well, I think I went through periods of being really motivated, and then periods of being just completely demotivated. But I just thought, I can't be too hard on myself. I just have to, if I don't want to do anything, just don't do anything and read a book and we're always trying to do so much all the time. Yeah. It was actually quite nice to just go, I'm just going to do something today, and then that will be a victory.
Yes.
And then I'm just going to read a book and drink a gin and tonic.
Which is always the best thing to do, as far as I'm concerned. Did anyone else have a similar experience to Christina in terms of, okay, I'm going to focus less on the making now and focus more on the marketing? Or did anyone just take a total break and just go, okay, I'm just going to process what's happening? Jane?
Well, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And when we went into lockdown, I really struggled with wanting to support my kids and also make. So, and I spent the first couple of weeks really struggling with it, to be honest, and not actually making and not doing a particularly good job of homeschooling either. So I think, like Chrissy, I just decided, well, actually, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. And I think we just need to be a bit kinder to ourselves. So I actually ditched the making initially and focused on the homeschooling. And then the making sort of came bit by bit. So when I had a bit of time from not worrying about the kids, I was able to, take myself off to the workshop, which is effectively the garage at the bottom of the garden, which I was lucky to be able to do that, just to have it just there. So it was family time, and then mixed with, the business side of things.
And I just want to say now, hats off to all of you who've got young children and have had to firstly homeschool. I don't know whether any of us would have survived me trying to homeschool my children, to be honest, let alone trying to run a business at the same time. So yeah, absolutely. Anyone I meet with younger kids, I'm just like, hats off to you. Absolutely. Yeah. Jo, how did you cope with going first into lockdown?
I think I'm eternal optimist. I thought it wasn't going to go on that long. And I work from home anyway, so initially I just carried on really as normal. I think the longer it went on, the harder it was in some ways. It felt like a bit of a roller coaster. Some days good, just carry on making. Some days gin and tonic in the garden. It's just tricky, but it's something that the longer it goes on, I'm actually finding it harder, to be honest.
Yes.
And also, it was just before it was supposed to be Cheltenham, so I had loads of stock. So I'd been making frantically just before that, so I had quite a lot of work. So yeah, that was a bit tricky, but
yeah. Josie, in terms of selling, you know, as we said at the beginning of the conversation, you know, so many craft fairs just they can't happen anymore, you know, and so many designer makers, that's really year in, year out. That's especially at this time of year in the run up to Christmas, that's the real bread and butter for the whole year. You know, this is where some businesses, you know, make up to 90% of their business, you know, for the whole year, of their takings for the whole year, I mean. So when we went into lockdown, did you have any fairs coming up? What did you think about how am I going to sell? You know, what was your whole thought process about your business and how you were going to conduct your business?
Well, there was I had about 6 fairs all booked in for the year, and they sort of gradually fell off the cliff as we went through. But of course, Sarah then did the first digital fair at the end of June. So at the beginning of lockdown, I'd actually got myself on a drawing course anyway. So I just did that and enjoyed that and didn't worry about the making. And then that then fed into the work, which was lovely. So that was a kind of a good start, very positive start. And also the weather was really lovely. I don't know if you'll remember that, that lovely sunshine.
Yeah.
And we live in Derbyshire. We have quite a large garden. We had chickens, we had a regular vegetable delivery, we had a milkman, and so we were actually locked down and we never went out for about, I suppose, 3 or 4 months. And we also look after my mother-in-law, who's 97. So we had to be very careful, you know, so we didn't go out. We had everything delivered and so on. So it was a very strange way of living, because suddenly it actually felt quite relaxing, because there was no need to rush out and rush about doing fairs, driving here, driving there, packing up, unpacking. And my husband's a musician, and he equally is always out and about doing stuff. So, and we used to say our relationship thrived on absence, because we were always like dashing about. But suddenly we were home together, all of us, and it was actually really, really, really nice. We really enjoyed it. And also living in Derbyshire, of course, we've got great countryside. So to go out and exercise, to walk and cycle was very easy. So that was the kind of the first bit. So we kind of thought, oh, this is really quite nice. We're we're obviously aware of the disaster in the country, but in our little microcosm, actually it was okay. And then when Sarah announced this fair instead of doing the actual fair, I thought, well, then maybe this is the opportunity. I really ought to sort out an online shop. So I just about managed to get it up and online by the Friday of that fair. Wow. And the response was phenomenal. I mean, I had a really good sales all over the weekend, and it's continued to do really well. But I have learnt a lot. Things like having some pots out the kiln. I took some pictures. I take the pictures in the studio. I send them over to myself on email so I can put them up on the website. Doing that over in the studio and then walking over and find once I got to the house that they'd all sold was a bit alarming. Wow. You know, before I'd even kind of hardly kind of sorted them, or putting a plate up for sale and going off and doing something, not checking, find that it sold twice was a bit alarming as well. So I've had to kind of keep a real eye on, how things are going. And also
better that way than the other way. That's really fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
it has been marvelous. I only have 25 items in the shop, because actually that's as much as I can control, because I have to remember what's in the shop, so if I'm sending out to galleries or odd customers calling by, I have to make sure I'm not showing them stuff that's actually in the shop, because then that causes a bit of kind of, oh my God, that's just sold, but I haven't got it anymore. I've included postage in the prices, because that seemed an easier option than having to work it out all the time. But then somebody bought some pots in America, and so of course to include the postage in the pots to America was actually not on. But I emailed her and she was fine. She said she'd pay the postage, and she's just received them and she's happy. So that was a bit of a sweaty. I thought, oh dear.
Yeah, that's why I like the conversation. There is so much to learn, isn't there? I mean, there's so much to learn when you're really pivoting your business to online. Even like things like the postage that you might not even have properly considered. It is they're all factors. Melanie, what about you moving? Did you move online? How did you pivot your business to start off with when we first went into lockdown?
I mainly sold through shops and galleries, through fairs, and then I did already have a website, but it didn't really have much traffic going through it. So yeah, I decided to completely change who it was with, and remade it completely, came up with some new photos, and yeah, so that's been a steep learning curve to try and get that up and running again and try and get more traffic, because yeah, like you said before, I don't think we are going to be going back to fairs, and it's going to be a bit off and on for the next who knows how long. So yeah, so I'm trying to get to grips with email marketing and getting more used to it, because I've got a presence on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm not very good at being regular on there. I'm a bit sporadic. I'm like a bit all or nothing. So yeah, trying to get regularity and schedule things and get used to all of that. Yeah, it's tricky, but
it's a whole new learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tanya, what have you had to do? Have you found things that I don't even know how to do that, or with your online presence, how have you reacted because I know you do quite a lot of fairs as well, don't you? So how have you adjusted?
Well, I had a website and a shop attached to it, but I never really bothered putting anything in it, to be honest, because everything always went at the fairs, and that was for me a much nicer way to sell things, to meet the people every time. So I did look at my shop and I thought, okay, I have to actually put something online now and make people realize that there is something they can buy from there for once. And then, so I found Instagram was a really good tool for me that I quite enjoy. It's quite easy to handle in the studio. So whenever I make a piece, I usually take a picture of it, put it up, say, made this, it will be in the shop sooner or later. And that seems to work quite well. And I also, instead of doing the shows physically, there were made makers, there was a digital craft fair, there's artist support pledge, all these things really helped to create a bit of traffic onto the website. And suddenly things were going, and yeah, it kept us afloat, and it's nice. And I actually talk to my clients, because I've got my my phone number on it, my email, or they can contact me through Instagram. So it's quite nice to still have that conversation and not just a website, so that I find that really nice. And people ask a lot of questions and on commission, so we still have the contact and we have little chats, what you're doing, so I know a lot of them, and we just try and keep it quite personal, really. Yeah. And that's been good. So
that's really lovely to hear, because we always talk about that, about marketing. For me, with so many creatives or businesses go marketing, it just scares me. But actually for me, marketing is the conversation. It is having conversations, and it is just building those relationships. And I know from a lot of creatives this year that they've really missed, like Tanya, you said, they've really missed meeting their customers, and just seeing what people like and seeing what jewelry looks like on people, and talking about how it might be different, and the feedback on your work, positive and negative, and the ideas that whole meeting of your clients sparks in you as a creative, and moving forward with the kind of work. So yeah, what have you really missed that? Josie, have you really missed that connection with people?
Well, I haven't, because I think like the rest of you, that people have responded to things on Instagram, lovely comments, and you've had conversations with people, they've asked questions, and also when they've received the work, they sometimes send pictures of it in use, I think you get a bit more dialogue with customers at the moment, because people are reaching out, because they're not seeing many people. Everybody's locked down, it's not just us, so they're very keen to kind of make that kind of contact, and I think they like it. And I think Instagram's been great. That it is easy to use, isn't it? You can post things up, to something every day. It may not be what you're making, it could be something you're doing, something in the garden, a walk you've been on. It kind of gives people a background picture of the kind of person you are, and that's what they're kind of buying into, isn't it? They're buying into not just your work, but the kind of person that makes it as well.
Absolutely. And I think, Josie, you should come and do my job. That's exactly what I say.
think Sarah,
it's so true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. So
I
important.
I think Sarah has been fantastic at guiding. You know, she did a really good workshop. I don't usually go to her workshops for the fairs because I think, oh, you know, I've been doing it for so long, I don't bother. But I did do it this time, and she did a really detailed how to go about attacking this weekend fair. You know, what to do, what kind of timetables to make, the things that you should be involve yourself in. And it was, I started off with a very small bit of paper, and then I had to keep grabbing more bits because I was writing so many things down that I sort of thought I should do. But she was absolutely great.
Brilliant. Do you approach online fairs differently than you would face-to-face fairs? Is there you know, what have you learned about your online presence at a fair that you didn't really think about before? Does anyone want to answer that one? Yeah, Jane.
Yeah, I like Josie, I did and Tanya, I did the first Digital Craft Festival, and it is fair to say that I probably wasn't as prepared because I hadn't done anything online like that. Sarah was very good at sort of prepping you. That was excellent. But in terms of almost, you've got to sort of do your own build up. You've got to sort of almost be building your brand before the actual, you know, you go to a market, you can rock up, you've got your bits to sell, and it's literally one-to-one when you're there explaining the story behind it. But, you know, suddenly you've got a week to go, you've got stuff in the kiln, you know, and you want people to be there for that moment. So you've got to almost start targeting it yourself. So I was trying to think of something that I could make that would be done in time, because it was, you know, it was a different sort of time scale. And I came up with some small lanterns. I put it in because I'm a big fan of Instagram, so I put it in my stories. This is what's going into the kiln. You know, it's coming out on Friday. I'm going to be doing a chat, that kind of stuff. See, you know, and literally, I think I made about 10 of them, and they all went within about half an hour. And
wow.
That really amazed me. That was like, oh, well, if I hadn't talked about it earlier, if I hadn't mentioned it, if I hadn't got excited about it, then maybe, you know, I wouldn't have sold what I did. So you know, that's something I've learned. I'm going to try and do something similar this time. But yeah, it's being more in control of your brand, I suppose. It is thinking in a different way, making sure that you have actually got the things that you say that you're going to have. Because obviously when you go to a market, you've got what or a fair, what is there is what you're going to sell. If you start, you know, talking up what's going to be there, you've got to make sure that it's there.
Absolutely.
See what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah. And any others want to comment about their experience of online selling, you know, craft fairs, selling, your own websites, you know, what have you learned works for you and doesn't work for you? I love that lots of you are using Instagram, because I personally just think Instagram's amazing for building relationships and also just having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
You know, with yourself, making yourself laugh, which for me is always a priority, but also making your customers laugh. You know, I'm just saying this a lot, you know, life's really tough. You know, the news alone is tough. You have to learn things that we all have going on in our own lives, you know. So I love it personally that if I go onto Instagram and somebody's just done something funny or told a funny story or made a funny video, you know, just, you know, if you're able to spread some joy on Instagram, for me, that's a win already. Do any of you want to share what things that you've done in promoting fairs, you know, like Jane said about her build up, you know, using films? Are there any things that you guys want to share in terms of your online marketing that you've done that have really worked well for you, but also maybe something that hasn't worked? You know, I'd be really interested to hear.
Well, I think that what I found difficult at the beginning with the Instagram was learning and understanding what tagging and hashtagging and all that sort of thing meant, because I wasn't very good at that. But I think the joy of that now is that you can join massive communities. and suddenly you get all this lovely other stuff coming in because you've joined that group, you know. So I've joined like Riverford Vegetables, and they draw and garden, and they draw and cook, and so lots of things that I'm finding are really, really useful for feeding into what I do. So kind of getting a handle and understanding all those kind of technical things, I think that's what I found really hard at the beginning. Well, I still find it quite hard, actually.
And did you, any of you really struggle with
understanding stories?
Yeah. Did any of you struggle just presenting yourself on a screen?
Yeah, I was quite nervous when I was asked last time by Sarah to do an interview. I was dreading it the whole time, and I said no to start with. And I thought, no, okay, come on then, get over yourself and do it. Or I'm still not particularly comfortable in front of a camera, but it's the only way to reach out to people. So, you know, got used to it, I suppose.
Yeah. Jo, what did you want to say?
Well, I just found that I love Instagram as well, but I found being a photographer, still photography is my thing. I'm trying to make myself do more videos, especially with jewelry. And I need to see it moving and, you know, in different light and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do more of that, which is a bit alien to me, but that's quite, yeah.
Yeah, because again, I've spoken to so many creatives, and I said, you know, if you show your face, and sometimes if I show your face, they just go, you know, I don't want to show my face. But again, you know, like Josie was saying, it's so important that we pitch up and show our faces, that people can see the person behind the brand, you know. But I know it can be really nerve-wracking for sure. Chrissy?
Yeah, I need to be a bit more personal on my Instagram, and a bit more, like you're saying, funny, and I think mine may be a bit dry, and it's like, please buy this. So yeah, I think the videos thing is something that I'm going to have to. That's what I'm doing from now until the Digital Craft Festival, basically.
Yeah,
videoing everything. So,
but I've also seen people doing videos and just going, oh, that was a bit of an epic fail, sorry. But again, that just makes you like, you know, we're all human. You know, this is all so new for all of us. I say it with Zoom, you know, we're like the fear of my dog barking, the doorbell going, even though I put signs up, you know, it's just this is really our new normal and how we communicate and things. So yeah, I think just have fun with it, Chrissy, for sure. Melanie, you wanted to say something, I think, about showing your face.
Yeah, I'm not very confident as well, just talking face to face, but I found it easier. I've done some lives where I'm actually making something and people are kind of joining and they seem to enjoy watching how things are made. And I find that kind of an easier way to do it, just so that I'm busy and I'm doing something and I've got something to concentrate on if it's a quiet moment, or, you know, and then people start asking questions and it can kind of flow from that. So that I found that's like an interesting way to do it, and people seem to really enjoy seeing, you know, and they're like, what's that tool do, and what, you know, just things like that you take for granted as a jeweler, you know, and you do the same thing over and over again, but you know, people don't necessarily know how things are made. So yeah.
And I'm really glad you brought that up, because I've said to so many creators have said to me this year as well, you know, when I'm talking about sharing your story and, like you say, Melanie, sharing your process, and they say, but who's going to be interested? And I say, I'm really interested. You know, I can't make anything. I'm not a ceramicist, I'm not a jeweler, you know, I can't draw. You know, I haven't really got creative bone in my body. And so I'm genuinely interested in your process and how you do things. Like you say, you know, people saying, what does that tool do? Absolutely. And I was working with a basket weaver and two other, they were graphic designers actually, and we were looking at her website and she had a little film, and she had also just said, you know, no, who's going to care about my process? And as soon as the film started, the two other graphic designers on the call said, how do you do that? And I just said, there you go. You know, so it is, so being able to convey that on film and on your social media and on your website and things, you know, it's just a different way of showing it, you know, and sharing what you do and your lives and your processes. Julius, this is a question for you. Is it difficult for you in terms of ring sizes? In, you know, what do you do to show people what jewelry is really going to look like on people? Have you come up with inventive ways of dealing with that?
Yeah, I get a lot of people saying, can you put it on? Can you take a video of it? Can we have a FaceTime, please? So I was putting things on in my garden or in the studio, or Kitty who helps me, you know, so anything really to get a bit more of an idea how something looks like when it's on. And people love it. And so, oh, now put the other one on, and now that one again. So it's, yeah, that's been quite nice, really. So, yeah.
And no, I really like that, because it's important, isn't it? Because people do really need to see how things look. Josie.
Well, the other thing I think has been interesting about this online selling is how your time gets reproportioned. I mean, there used to be, you know, I used to do about 6 fairs a year. So there'd be, you know, there'd be all that time getting ready, getting all the boxes packed up and getting the car packed up and driving somewhere and unloading it and then setting it up and standing there for 3 days and then packing it all up and driving home and then unpacking it all and sorting out the studio, which was quite a long process each time. And so that obviously is gone, but now I spend quite a bit of time packing individual things, you know, and then going up and down to the depot and dropping them off. So it'll be interesting, I think, at the end of the year to see how all that kind of evens up, really. I don't know, with jewellery it must be lovely because you must do little tiny packages, but with pottery, you know, you're dealing with quite big things, and you know, getting the right box size and you know, getting the right you know, all the packing materials and stuff is quite good. I mean, I have now got some better small boxes, but there was one point where we were sending things out in Whiskers boxes, and I thought, this is not looking very professional.
I wanted to ask whether, because most of your business now is, of course, is your products are arriving on people's doorsteps, have you thought about and given time to make that whole opening experience a better experience for customers? I know Josie's just said about not wanting her things to arrive in Whiskers boxes. You know, have you thought, okay, my packaging, I need to make it an experience? Have any of you really invested your time and energy and money into your packaging?
I have made an effort to get stamps literally across all of my work now. So I designed one over the summer, a small one to actually go into the pottery itself, but then I got a really big one so that I could stamp it on the side of, literally just on the side of a normal box, just a brown box, so at least it had some kind of branding. I mean, to be honest, in terms of the opening experience, for me, it's safety is first. Yeah. It's you know that and you know, if it's got an extra bit of, albeit recycled, bubble wrap and things like that, that's kind of the most important thing at the minute. I mean, I am thinking about, you know, I mean, I love getting bits of jewellery and they are so beautifully wrapped and there's ribbons, and I'm thinking, yeah, I could probably manage a bit of tissue paper, but, you know, it's got to add to the packaging really. Yes. Still. So I still need to look at that. But yeah, that's definitely something that's worth considering.
Chrissy, you wanted to say something on that?
Yeah. No, it's just, I did get some new packaging, but actually I started doing things like, because people were buying things for presents to send to other people because they weren't going to see them. And so I started doing things like drawing little handmade cards for people with like happy birthday or, you know, happy anniversary or whatever. And so that's got me thinking that I should probably actually maybe produce some little cards that then go in and get them printed by you know, a printer. And maybe have my branding on or some of my little drawings or something. So yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's all those touches, like you say, you know, none of us know already this Christmas, you know, are we going to be with our loved ones, are we not? And I think with that in mind, I think so many people are already thinking, okay, how am I going to make this Christmas as special for those people as I can, but also making it easy for me. So, and I think all of those things are so important. You know, that person, I can write a personalized card for you. If it's in your branding, Chrissy, how lovely. You know, if you've drawn something, again, I think it all just adds up to a really lovely experience for people, for sure. Tanya, you wanted to say something, I think.
Yeah, I do usually write a little card, you know, a little note. Sometimes I know who is going to, so I will always comment on you know, when we met last time, maybe meet again, sort of thing. Or I know a bit about the background why they're buying it, and that's quite nice, because I think, you know, out of, you know, pieces you buy on the high street, this is like our strength, you know, something that is more personal, it's got a lot more character, it's got a lot more sentiment behind it. So if you open your packaging, it gives a lot more, I think, rather than just opening, I don't know, a new pair of shoes or something. So I think we can all sort of give a bit more, you know, for every single customer. So I think it's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a real businessy question. How are you? So we've spoken about Instagram in terms of driving traffic. What other business aspect marketing tools are you guys using to really inform people? You know, I'm an absolute email marketing freak, but you know, is there anything that you've used that's really worked for you, or you know, in terms of your marketing, or something that hasn't worked, or something that surprised you that's worked? Jo, do you want to answer that? Have you got anything you want to say about that?
Gosh, that's quite a tricky one, because my main is Instagram and Facebook, really. I'm
okay.
Rubbish at email marketing, and I know I need to work on that. I really, really do. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to answer that.
That's fine. Anyone else want to put in what they're doing about that? You know, what's worked for them since all the online selling?
Well, I think the newsletter is the next thing. I haven't done that yet, and Sarah says we must do that as part of our, you know, getting on. Yeah. So yeah, that's my next task. Just about to go into another lockdown, so it's going to be loads of time.
Yeah.
So I think that's. Yeah. But I think, you know, like what you're saying about making that personal contact with the customer. Like if they buy something online, I always send them an email and say, you know, thanks for your order. It'll be coming in the post tomorrow or something. I'll be posting tomorrow. You know, where's a safe place to leave it if you're out? And then I always put a little card in, so the first thing they see when they open the box is a little message saying, you know, thank you for buying it and hope you enjoy it and whatever. I think that's, you know, that it is that making that link with them is very important.
Absolutely. Have you been surprised how open people are to buying online? Have you felt any restraint from people, maybe from, I don't want to be ageist, but maybe from, you know, older generations that are a bit wary of it, or people just going, oh, it's a bit risky to spend that much money on something that I haven't held or seen in the fair? Have you had any resistance to that, or are you surprised how open everybody has been? Tanya, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was surprised how easily people buy quite valuable pieces online, to be honest. But I found, especially the older generations, they like to call me. they like to call up first,
yeah,
and have that conversation, and then they will buy it. So that's been good to have my phone number on there.
Yeah, were you nervous about putting your phone number on there?
No, not really. No. It seems
that's
to work.
Such a nice point, isn't it? It's a lovely point that I think we're so used to email and stuff that actually sometimes it's just really nice to have a telephone conversation.
Have you got it? Is it really nice? Yes, it's really nice. Okay, great, thank you. And
yeah, lovely. Jo, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Tanya was saying, but I was just so conversations via email but also on the phone is really good, but definitely a shift in my work. I make a lot of rings are definitely my thing, but during this there's been a shift and people have been asking for earrings, like really interesting earrings, so I've been doing a lot more of those rather than the rings. Really, it's quite a shift for me.
Is that because everybody's on Zoom and so that's the only part of you can see? Maybe it is. That's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I
think everyone's going, oh, I had these earrings on last time, I can't have them again for this meeting.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, maybe it's that.
Thought of that. Anyone else want to say anything about what they've found out about their customers and buying online and any resistance, or is it just easy?
It's not easy.
No.
It does take a lot of work, and like we were saying before about jewellery, you have to have photos of it being worn, which is a lot more work, and there's been a lot of photo editing going on. My year seems to have been photo editing. It's about April. So I've trained my other half to take photos of me wearing jewellery, which is quite good. So yeah, so it's not easy, but
no,
it is surprising how everyone's used to it now, and especially during lockdown, people just they wanted to treat themselves, and they were, so yeah.
And I think there was just all that time, you know, we were just all at home, you know, like Josie said. I mean, I have to say, I feel funny saying it, but you know, I enjoyed lockdown. That's a weird thing to say, but you know what I mean? Because life did just slow down. But people, you know, people were still working, people still had money, and they had no, you know, nobody was eating out, nobody was going to theatre, nobody was going to cinema. So there really was money to be spent, you know, and there still is money to be spent for a certain percentage of the population, you know. So yeah, absolutely. Just putting yourselves out there in different ways is really important. Josie.
Well, I'm going to say that also a lot of the galleries I supply have gone online too, and that's been quite interesting. So I'm still supplying quite a lot of galleries because they're putting stuff up. And in fact, the customer in America that bought work from me also bought work from one of the galleries as well at the same time. So she's had two parcels going to her, one from me, one from the gallery. So that's been quite interesting, you know, that has continued. And I've just been contacting people this week saying, are you closing or are you? And they're all saying, no, we're still online, please send more work. So that's been, you know, that's going to be another aspect to it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. How many online fairs are you finding online fairs bring in different crowds for you? Or, you know, are you feeling like doing online fairs really has to be a part of your selling strategy, you know, now up to Christmas? Or are some of you just thinking, actually, I'm just going to really focus on my own marketing and get people onto my website? Jane?
Yeah, I was going to say, following on from what Josie said, I've been quite lucky that the stockists that I supply from the initial lockdown went literally focused on their online shops, their websites, and I actually sold quite well through them. So whilst I may not have been pushing my own online presence, I have been, particularly on Instagram, I've been supporting the independents that were going online, and then obviously for a period of time have come back into, you know, normal shop mode, but are now going back into online. That's where I feel I can, you know, support them. So perhaps, yeah, that's where my energy's gone, really, in supporting those that have already gone online, and of course now they're all set up for it. So for them it's not necessarily an easy transition, but it's an easier transition. So yeah, so I'm supplying them more than I am concentrating on my own online presence, if that makes sense, because, you know, they're doing such a good job, and by me supporting, we're kind of supporting each other, which is important.
I was going to ask that question as well, in terms of the community, you know, your relationships with your, you know, galleries and retailers, and also your relationships with each other in creative industries. You know, has lockdown brought you kind of closer together in terms of the support that you give each other? You know, have any of you kind of grouped with other creatives as a kind of support network thing? You know, has it changed that at all? Because I know just from, you know, working with Tutton and Young doing the Made London, Made Brighton fairs, you know, there's a really beautiful community between so many of you. You know, have you missed that connection with each other as well? And how have you tried to enhance that connection online?
Well, I'm in a Design Nation regional group, and we meet once a fortnight for a chat, and that's been very good. And we've done various projects together as well. Through that, you know, we had actually had a meetup when you could kind of gather with so many people, and did you know, a project together. That's been quite good. But yes, just meeting up and chatting about what everybody's doing has been great.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone else had anything like that, Chrissy?
I'm in a studio, so there's a lot of us in the studios, makers and artists. So and during, when we went into lockdown and we couldn't come in, we basically just set up a Zoom. So we had a Zoom, because we sit round at lunch, social distance this now, kind of no more than 6 of us in the communal space. So we just set up a Zoom so that we could carry on with the kind of support that we give each other just through informal kind of chats every lunchtime. So
yeah, nice. Jane?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I've got a couple of Potter friends that we before lockdown used to meet up sort of once a month and have a chat about the state of the world and all of that, and then in lockdown, in fact, I think that was probably one of my first Zoom conversations, which was hilarious because nobody knew what they were doing, and it was all a bit chaotic, but that has continued. And yeah, I think it's we're all making on a different level. Some of us have got kids, some of us don't, but we're there to support each other, and that it's been really beneficial.
Absolutely. Is there anything anyone else wants to say as a bit of a roundup for what we've spoken about in terms, it sounds like you're all totally on it and having a lovely time generally, and I long may that continue for you all. It's great. I love that you're all active on Instagram and making connections and picking up the phone and things like that. I think it's fantastic. Is there anything that you miss or that you've learned, or anything that you want to add to the conversation already about the whole online presence and online craft fairs and selling and how you present yourselves? Jo?
I really miss shows. I really I mean, online's great, and obviously we have to be really positive, and this is the way it's got to be for now, but I miss them so much. Miss seeing everybody's work, touching it, feeling it, people picking up your own work, trying it on, falling in love with it, buying it. I miss it. But yeah, we have to make the best of it, don't we?
Absolutely, and it sounds like you are. Anyone else want to say anything else before we round up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite pleased that I had to go online because I was always really rubbish at it. So now I've learned a lot, so I'm pleased with that part. So now I can go back to normal.
Chrissy?
Yeah, I'd second that. It's kind of forced me to do the things that I knew I had to do, but I was just not getting around to them, and so it was good to have that break to think, right, now I have to do this. So.
And has it changed your kind of percentage of time? I know Josie kind of alluded to this earlier in terms of what your working day looks like. Are you now just spending much more time on, not more, but kind of more of a balanced time maybe on your marketing or your online presence than making? Is there a real shift there? Melanie, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to have days where I just work on online things and trying to come up with ideas to even do a blog or that kind of thing, and chunk it together. So do a whole day's marketing and then a day's making, and so kind of do it that way. Whereas I don't think I ever put the time aside to do it before properly, but I've tried to kind of make the time and focus on it more now. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Anyone else want to say anything else about online, surviving this new normal? It sounds like you're all doing really well, which is really pleasing for me. Lovely to hear that.
But I think having the online festival that Sarah set up has been the stimulus, really. I mean, I was really lazy about my website, and I'd thought about a shop, but I hadn't really got around to it. But doing that that really had to focus what I was doing, and then once you've started, it is a bit of a kind of a roller coaster. You have to keep going. You can't sort of just stop. You've got to keep putting bits up and doing things. It is quite a taskmaster as well. To keep it all up and running. Absolutely. I don't know what anybody else. I don't know whether you feel like, I feel a bit like I've got to put things up and keep people, show that I'm making things without repeating myself too often as well.
Absolutely.
I suppose it's just putting your efforts in, in different directions, like you were saying before, Josie. You kind of plan to, make the stuff, then you put it in the car, then you've got to drive, you've maybe got to book some accommodation, then you've got to set up, then you go. Whereas actually now if you've made and you take a few photos, it's the time spent traveling that you're now using to put it up on, you know, online. It's the same kind of dedication, intensity, focus, all of that on your work. It's just showing itself in different ways. It's all, and still quite exhausting as well.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us. Honestly, I've had a really lovely time. Really lovely to see your faces and find out about your change on, you know, onto online. And I really hope you do. I really hope for all of you and for all of us, you know, consumers too, that we do get to see you face to face in fairs and shows in 2021. Early in 2021 would be lovely. Yeah, exactly, Jo. Fingers crossed. Thank you all so much for joining us in Show and Tell at the Digital Craft Festival. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.